Greetings, my name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, the Core to Core, my patrons, Clayton, Ruby, Stephanie, and Jonathan, and anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor or student. Just four things I guess are on my list today. And the first is, in a previous broadcast, I encouraged my viewers to go to their book and find Joe's definition. And then in the paragraph right after, Joe's statement, right? And I heard back from a viewer that their book didn't have any of that text. It was just the exercises. So as much as I feel or felt pretty comfortable that Joe's book is out there in the world, I went on the web and found a book that looked just like it was a rendition of the original by itself, just Joe's book, which is what I sent a link for to the student, but then I ordered a copy for myself to see if it came with the words or just the exercises, because that would be fascinating. That would be a tremendous loss to someone seeking to know more about Pilates. I was also able to send them a link from hermit.com. It was so poetic because it was to a patron who I was interacting with on this, and I was able to send them a link to download the text in a PDF format off of the website, hermit.com, that they were a patron of. Hermit.com, Joseph Pilates words, because those are his words before in his book that come before his exercises. So that's a place to get to it. Number two is tensegrity, because no more than I see on social media something that's an answer all about classical Joe Pilates, straight from a long time disciple of Ramana. I see another advertisement about biotensegrity, and forget about this and forget about that. That's not the way to be looking at it. Biotensegrity is where it's at. And I'm all jazzed about that. Would love to go attend that and see what that point of view is like. But in terms of tensegrity, that comes from Buckminster Fuller, who I saw lecture at CU in Boulder, bought a poster of his map, global map, and read his book about the evolution of civilization, which is definitely a good read. And then in Pilates, looking for whole body, talking about tensegrity, and that, I can't remember how long ago, but a long time ago, there's a web page that addresses tensegrity at a cellular level, where you can modify 3 of the parts of a cell, and based on their relativity to each other, there's this capacity for the cell having tensegrity within it. So now, that's all so long ago, it's like, yes, I see you coming up the mountain. And that's condescending in a way, but from the MMP point of view, the mechanics that you need to get to what you're after involve core new tension. So I've considered writing back to the avid fan of a new way of looking at things, and it being biotensegrity. Buckminster Fuller gave us a way of imagining something before he gave it to us. And core new tension is a way of imagining something that, in my opinion, has something directly to do with biology and physics, and the biology accomplishing its movement through space through the physics of core new tension that it's engaging in. And that means oppositional rotation between axes. And that means here's my arms rotating, and around my ears I can rotate, and I can rotate my arms in one direction and rotate my ears in a different direction and keep my shoulders and ears lined up by pulling away from an unwanted kiss. And it's in the engagement of that tension, it's in the engagement of tension between your ears and your shoulders that allows you to make length. It's like going into the engagement itself makes the length. It's like, when you go deeper into your grip, what is part of your grip that comes out of that has to go somewhere. And when you make the stretch between two endpoints of rotation, alignment is sensational, and you get more uniform usage. Just like this light is happening uniformly throughout the tube, core new tension in the body makes an effort to get uniform engagement of the musculature in the body. It's the way the body utilizes all of its structure. Skeleton and fascia and tendon, ligament. What's the difference between a tendon and a ligament? So on that subject of tensegrity, I think that's an ambition toward number 2. If you have a book that has a text in it, contrology develops the body uniformly. And I could see how this tensegrity is headed in that direction, or part of that aim or target of uniform engagement. I don't see how tensegrity, whatever it is, will supplant or eclipse the natural ability of the human being in their rotational dynamics or the connection between them in primitive primary planes in space, in the physics in which it finds itself in. And the challenge to be the same on both sides. A nautilus shell versus one shell that just wiggles out one way. Mobility and movement comes back to that. All right, so and then number 3 is like braces for your teeth. And this is a subject about looking at the reformer being compared to braces for your teeth. And in that regard, you have metal stuff and there's tension in there, right? And the target is what? Realignment of the teeth. And so you're using tension for realignment. And in the squareness of the reformer and the springs that are involved, there's springs, there's tension, and there's alignment. Now, even if the reformer disappeared and all there were springs, that's the source of the tension, so you're using tension to facilitate alignment, to bring about alignment. In Pilates, the awareness of alignment and the ability to maintain it, or recover it, or reach into it. But knowing what the means is in engagement to accomplishing what you're after. And in MMP's case, it's uniform usage of the body. Developing, using, utilizing the body uniformly. Contrology develops the body uniformly. And that's in the text, if you have the text. Right, so see the springs as tension and recognize there you are dynamically choosing the tension, reaching for what? The adjustment and alignment? Why? To achieve better movement through space. Okay? I'm breaking down in my transmission. So all I see is a frozen image. So this is part 2, number 4 of my broadcast with book with no text and tensegrity and like braces for your teeth, talking about tension. And now number 4 is about lightning and fluorescence. And me wanting to make a clarification with someone who attached, a student of mine, a dear friend of mine, who attached lightning to fluorescence. And so I want to read this to you because I think the words are clear that I'm going to ad-lib them. A clarification as to MMP POV right? The way MMP looks at lightning and the way MMP looks at fluorescence. In sign language, the sign for spirit is lightning. So, contrology is complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. This symbol here is lightning, and it comes from behind you, poo, 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 and comes into your awareness. It's something that doesn't come from within you, it comes from without you, from beyond you, something you observe. Okay. So lightning is spirit, is observing. Okay. Fluorescence is whole body. So when we're after whole body, when we're after contrology develops the body uniformly, that's the whole body part of Pilates that I think everybody would agree to without necessarily an explanation of, but that Pilates is meant to be a whole body exercise. And yet a lot of the culture, more and more now within the culture, have no exposure to that notion. So they have no inclination to either reject or preserve. Maybe they have books with no text in them. So my point I'm trying to make is that lightning is beyond yourself. It's out here somewhere, and boom, it comes into, it's observable, it's observing. It's something that you see. It's something that you see. Even if you never hear thunder associated with it. Fluorescence is something you strive for within yourself. So, lightning is listening, is observing, is spirit. And fluorescence is whole body. Uniform engagement. Oppositional rotation between axes. Because I'm just pointing to, that's the way the body does it. I'm identifying coronary tension. And it's through that means, whether unknowingly or not, that we distribute the load of our body as optimally as we can to move through space. In MMP, lightning is spirit. Body, mind, and spirit. Lightning, boom! And lightning is observing, is listening, is the hippocampus and the amygdala feeding information into the prefrontal cortex. The body, the prefrontal cortex, and the amygdala hippocampus. In saying contrology develops the body uniformly, that's how Pilates does what it does, and that establishes uniform engagement as the target of the effort, of the means of how the effort is meant to be done. And core new tension is the means that you use to be engaged uniformly in your body. Now, I have no idea what the tensegrity interpretation of things is or where that's coming from, but to me, the integrity of the actual width of our body and the ability to control rotation at different axes, that physics is in play. I just don't see how it can't be. And again, no summary statement. Meathead. So, I heard about a Pilates book that had the exercises in it, but not the text of Joe's original book. That was surprising to me. I saw a great promotion about forget about this way and that way and tensegrity. Biotensegrity is the way to do this. And in looking for something that's more uniformly engaged in a tensegrity kind of way, I think we're headed in the same direction or talking about the same thing. And in the way that Buckminster Fuller gave so much, maybe not as much, but core new tension is a way of looking at things that has some credibility to it. For me, both in terms of physically what I can imagine and embrace my body and engage my body in an attempt to create core new tension, and out of that comes a sensation that makes alignment sensational. And that's because I'm making tension between endpoints, here and here, and here and here. If I'm just sitting here, 3 points on a line, there is a definite place to be in your body. And that's because of the physics that you're in. So we try to engage core new tension because that's how the body reaches into to make efficiency in the carrying of the load of the body. And so the aspiration is to be connected in a core new tension way in order to distribute the load as efficiently as possible. And so the more evenly we can distribute the load of our body, the better. If in the course of our spine it ends up where it's a crink in the spine somewhere, or a crink in the energy of the body, that short circuits the effort at being in and then maintaining uniform distribution of load. That's what you're after in fluorescence. You're after understanding that in here there are batteries. So there are 4 AA batteries. I take it out, but the end is all taped up. Battery power represents rotational power in this comparison. The ability to make rotation at an axis, see, is 2019, and people are still generalizing the term core to mean whatever they want. So MMP, the core, means literally a grip at the hips. that the musculature is capable of, that the body grew forth out of, and the oppositional tension in the shoulders is oppositional to the hips in order, because it gives the organism the most mobility. And if you want more proof, more spine, more length, more lengthening, more coming out from the center. To the point where there's rotational dynamic at the ears, and it obviously, naturally, rotates opposite the strength of rotation in the shoulders. You know, there are a lot smarter people than me that can point to the biology in this. So my claim to fame is that in 2019, and for the last few decades, I've been pointing to a means of engagement the body uses to move. So in your sign language, spirit is lightning. That's because on International Sign Language, I was so tickled to see that spirit is lightning. Coming from behind and boom, coming into your point of view. It's what you see, right? It's observing. And gravity forces the issue of alignment. Alignment is sensational via tension between 2 points. That tension between 2 points, that's fluorescence. That's, you see, at least gain one higher level, right? 1 degree more of intensity. I know the science isn't literal, but the fact that the battery power sets up the ability to make rotation, and that the interaction between the 2 rotations creates a tension that's more than just the rotations by themselves. So trying to be fluorescent is trying to be whole body, because Pilates has been known for that forever, for a reason. Now, if you're serious about getting to whole body, really explore your own sensation with the imagery of core new tension throughout all your endpoints. And so that would be my summary, I guess. The great thing about MMP and CT is that they're both sensational. They're identifications of something that's sensational. In terms of contrology, I'd say that's an experience. In terms of core new tension, I'd say that you come away from that with a sensation because of the tension between the endpoints. And that's what you wouldn't have if all you had were endpoints that were disconnected, that weren't connected. KWYK. Because you can't live forever. Read between the lines and see behind the curtain. Evaluate points of view. And then establish value. direct your thinking. Geist.